Artisan Company, and welcome back to the channel. Today, oh my, I was sitting here at the desk working on another piece of jewelry, and this happens to me fairly often, and probably a lot of you too, but I was sitting here working on the Misty piece of jewelry that we were talking about the other day, and a picture went across my face for this really cool wrap bracelet. So that's what we're doing today. Let's get started. All right, everybody. I am so excited about this project today. Yes, I have been listening to what you guys have been asking, and to my surprise, a lot of you are asking for more leather type jewelry. And so that excites me because I love to work with leather. It's just so much fun. So today we are going to work on a double wrap bracelet, and I'm thrilled about this. So I'm going to tell you what I've got here on my desk and where I got most of it, if I can remember, and we'll get started. So first thing I have here is a roll of cowhide. I got this from Fire Mountain in their leather department. They have different types of things there, but this was in their leather department, and I picked it up, two different rolls. There was a roll like this, and then there was another roll that was a different color, a little different print, with the intent of making bracelets. So yes, that's where I got this, Fire Mountain. And you can see the cowhide is a lot different on the back than the deer hide and things like that. But that's what this is. You can use whatever you want. The next thing that I have is the backer for the bracelet. This is goat hide right here. I love goat hide. I love deer hide. I use goat hide and deer hide probably 95 to 98% of the time in any leather work that I do or backer work on bracelets. You can see the suppleness of this. Oh my gosh, it's like butter, people. It's like butter. It's fantastic. Deer hide is the exact same way. Deer hide is a little pricier than goat hide, but they both work very, very beautifully in jewelry and also to back bracelets with, or chokers even. I've done that as well, leather chokers. So I bought this at Tandy Leather, and here's the emblem so you can Google it. Okay. You may have a store in your area. They're few and far between, but I got the goat hide at Tandy Leather. And I also get deer hide from them. They have elk hides and all other kinds, buffalo hides, sheep hide, anything pretty much you need, they have it there. I also get deer hide sometimes from powwows. So if you guys have never been to a Native American powwow, please, please go. Oh my goodness, you will totally enjoy yourself. Such a cultural experience, but new foods to try. It's just fun. But you can also buy beads there and leather and all kinds of things that are oddball things that you normally can't find online or whatever. So if you have a powwow local that you can go to, one of your local tribes, go visit, enjoy the day out, and find some new things and make some new friends. So, okay, with that plug for the powwows, you will need a leather of some kind to back your bracelet with. And the reason why you want to back the bracelet is because cowhide is durable. However, it's not as soft on the skin and doesn't look as pretty on the back of things. So it's very nice to have it lined, and it looks just so much more complete. So that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to line it with the goat hide. Oh, one other place you might be able to get hides is a place called Crazy Crow. Okay, they sell a lot of American Indian type things. Okay, you will also need some glue and either a E6000 or an EcoFlow leather glue. This comes from Tandy Leather as well. This one is very fluid. This one is more gooey. So it depends on how you want to navigate that. Both work very, very well. I've used both of these on leather projects for many, many, many years. So I recommend either one of them. Uh, your project will be supple once it's dried. So either one of these you'll need. You will also need a big leather punch because you're going to be punching a lot of holes in this bracelet. So you're going to need a leather punch. And this one, you can get them where they're rotary like this, that turns. If I can turn it this way. And it has different sizes. You can see that hole's really big. This hole is teeny tiny right here. So the teeny tiny hole right here is the one we're going to use to do the holes in the bracelet so we can stitch everything together. But you'll need one of these. Now, if you don't want to buy a huge one like that, they do make single ones like this with little small little punches in it like that, single ones as well. And you can get these at Tandy Leather as well, but you can also get them online. Just type in leather punch and you could probably find one anywhere. Okay. All right. You will also need a rotary cutter for your leather. Now you can do it with scissors if you want to, but I'm going to tell you it will not be near as clean. These you can get at any sewing shop. They punch down like this. You just grab it with your hand like that, and the blade comes out, as you can see. And then this red button holds the blade out while you're cutting. So the blades are replaceable when yours gets dull. So you'll need one of these. They're very sharp. Please watch your fingers when you're cutting. All right. You will need a ruler of some kind, partially for the straight edge, but you can use it also to measure out. You will need a mat to cut on, and I use this rotary mat. Any sewing shop has these, as well as the rotary cutter, fabric cutter thing. This one's a small one, but you can get really big ones too. But it has measuring, it's inch blocks here, and then they have the little numbers down here where you can mark off quarter inches, whatever. But you'll need one of these, if not something very durable that you can cut on. I know this is kind of lengthy, but you're going to need all of this stuff. You will need some artificial sinew or something to stitch with. I like to use the artificial sinew because it is so sturdy and it takes forever to wear out. Now, if you take it like a lot of native people, a lot of times when they're doing really fine work or doing a choker that's really small and the holes in the bone and stuff are small, they may split this in two and use just half of this little piece right here. I don't do that. It's extremely rare if I do, because to me it compromises the sinew. But you will need some of this right here. And they also make it in this color too. These are the two colors I use consistently. They may make them in others. I just haven't looked. But this lasts forever. The roll does. So don't choke at your price, because it lasts forever. I can't tell you the last time I bought artificial sinew. So you'll need some of that. Almost to the end, guys. You will need some kind of clasp for this bracelet. You can do snaps if you would like. But me personally, I've done snaps on things and they're great and they're fine, they're wonderful. However, I love this closure. It is called a Sam Brown, as in the name, Sam Brown closure. There's an E on the end of Brown when you spell that out. But I love these stud closures. Oh my goodness. They're easy to work with. They're beautiful on the bracelets, and it's easy to add studs to your bracelet if you need to. And it comes with a little guy that you put this in, the little head in like that, and then you put this on the top, and you take a hammer and just go whap, and it presses down in there. So it is fantastic. I love them. I love the way they look. So if your bracelet turns over, it looks just as funky and fun on the turned over side as it does on the decorative top. So anyway, you'll need some of those. And I think, oh, and I got those at Tandy Leather as well, but you could probably Google Sam Brown closures and it probably will come up. Okay, I think that's everything to start this project. I know that was a long intro and I'm sorry, but for all you guys who are wanting to learn this, this is the process. So, okay, I'm going to get my desk ready and we'll get started. Okay, to expedite some time, I went ahead and cut my backing here to fit my leather front top, and this is 18 inches long total here. I know a little bit of it's out of the camera range, but I cut an 18-inch long piece. Once we get this backed, we'll see if we need to cut anything off the end first. But first thing we're going to do is take your E6000, and I had a little bit left over in this, so I'm going to use it first. You can take a toothpick or anything that's got something long on it that you can spread with. Do not use your fingers. And you may want to have a little ventilation going too, because this can really knock you out. It's not knock you out literally, but the smell can knock you over. Let me put it that way. But we're going to start at one end. I don't know how much of this is going to come out, and we're going to start at one end like this and spread it. Don't get it too thick, okay? Just work it a little bit into the leather at a time. And it does start drying pretty quickly. So you'll want to take your piece of backing and line it up with the end like that. And press it down just gently with your finger. And you may want to use an apron too. I really recommend aprons when you're doing bead work, believe it or not, especially if you're using unusual things to do bead work. That's not normal. Okay, so once you do that one, take off another big glob and start the same process over again. Just meet it up where you left off there. You can see how tacky this E6000 is. So for some of you, the Echo Flow may be easier to work with. I don't know. Just depends on what you like to do. And then you're going to press that down like that. Smooth it with your finger. You can feel the little bumps under there, so smooth it with your finger. Pull it back. Take another glob like so and start right where you left off. Trying to get my hands out of the way. I'm using an oversized needle. I told y'all at the beginning of my channel, I don't always do everything the conventional way because I was taught a little differently in some things. So, anyway, it's all good. Whatever works for you is what you need to do. All right. And then I'm going to press this down all the way up, smooth it with my finger. And you're going to continue this process all the way to the end of the bracelet. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and then I'll be back. Okay, now that you've gotten that finished, with the E6000 and as well with the other leather glue and probably most leather glues, it needs a curing time. Most of them are 24 hours or so, but I do know with the E6000, if you give it just a little bit of time to set, you can continue to work with it with leather. Okay, I'm not going to say that for other things, but with leather, you can. Also, if you're working with cowhide with the fur on like this is, if you'll notice, there is a grain in how the fur is laying. So you want to make sure when you're pressing things down to go with the grain, not against it. Okay, because if you start going against it, your fur is going to get all matted and look bad. Okay, so go with the grain the way the fur is laying on there when you're pressing down on it. Don't go against it. Okay, it'll feel real slick and smooth when you're going with the grain. Okay, now that we've got that done, the next thing you're going to do is to make sure that you don't have excess leather sticking out when you made your cut. It may not have been exactly right on the money. You may have just a little left over. So you can trim that out, and I'm looking at mine. You don't want to trim out too much of it because if you trim out too much of it, it'll be when you go to stitch it, you won't have enough to stitch. So I'm taking a really sharp pair of scissors, and I'm just trimming this edge right there. Go right down with your leather. Go right down beside it. Very slowly. Don't zip, because if you do, you may wind up cutting more leather than you want to. Because once you stitch it, it's going to be stitched into this, so it's going to be fine. All right, I'm going down this end. I've got a little bit on that end right there. I'm cutting that even. Actually, the whole thing needs to be cut. So let me trim it like so. And then I'm trimming this edge right here. I'm coming up here. Spit. Come here, baby. My cat's in here and she is really fussing at me. I know, baby. I'm sorry. Mama's working. I'm working, baby. I'll let you out in just a second. All right. All right. So these ends are even like so. The next thing you will do is you are going to round off these corners very, very gingerly. So when you're cutting, as your scissor is cutting, you're turning the leather. Like so. And I find if you flip it, it's easier to get it to look even. All right, so it should look like that. I'm going to cut the other side. By flipping it, all right, let me make sure this is even right there. Yes, okay. When you flip it over, you're using the same, whether you're left-handed or right-handed. When you flip this over to cut the other side, you're using the same angle, so it will always look even. Okay. Turn, flip it. All right. And so there's that one. All righty. So you've got your corners cut. You are getting ready to start punching. Someone might ask me what scissors these are. They are Wusthof, Wusthof. Wusthof. I don't know if you can see it on that right there or not, but I've had these for a while. They are sharper than blazes. And the model number on it is 5558. Wusthof 5558. Okay, I figured somebody might ask me that. All right, we're getting ready to punch the holes. So get your little rotary thing here and go to the smallest setting on it. Right there is the smallest in this one. So go to your smallest little setting right there. And if you are new to this, you may want to take something like a silver Sharpie or something that has an extremely fine point on it. This one has a pretty fine point because it's pretty new, but you need a marker in a silver, gold, something that you can see on whatever leather color backing that you have. And you can actually take a ruler and you can mark how many you want it, how many spaces you want to make each hole in. So let's say you wanted to do every quarter. So you would put a hole right there, right there, right there, and there, and just put your little mark there. I'm not going to do it on mine because I'm so used to doing it that I can do it without this, and that's just because I've practiced so much. But if you're new at it, just um, use a marker of some kind to and a ruler to mark where you want your holes to be punched. And it only takes a itty bitty dot, doesn't take a big circle dot, just a pinpoint, just tiny little dot for you to see it. Okay, hopefully that will be helpful. Another thing that is helpful is if you start on the corner, because that's where you're going to finish your stitching, will be on the corner. So it's better to start on the corner when you start your holes. Okay. I'm used to using that little bitty punch. So I'm going to get my little punch. This one, actually, the smaller one, is so much easier to handle when you're doing projects like this. So I would recommend you getting one of these, especially if you're just starting. All right. Okay, so I'm punching on the backing side because it's easier to see. If you punch it on this side, you can see it, but on the backing side, you'll be able to rock and roll. So if you put your little markers on there, if you're going to do that, put them on the back side, not on the front. All right, so I'm going to start here on that corner. Get my eyes down here. I'll punch a few and then I'll finish it. Sometimes, because this has fur on it, sometimes when you're punching, your little hole punch thing may get some fur or glue up in there, whatever the case may be. And sometimes you'll just have to stop and take a little toothpick or a needle or a pin or something and push it out. And you can pick right back up where you left off. All right, I'm going to stop right there for time's sake. And you can see the fur coming through from the other side. But I've started my holes punched all the way down, and mine are actually, I'll tell you this, how far apart I did mine. Let's see here. They are literally about I would say maybe a quarter or an eighth inch apart. It depends, and that's your flavor. The bigger the stitch, the further apart the holes need to be. The tighter the stitch, the closer together the holes need to be. Okay, so mine are pretty tight because I like a tight stitch, but that's my personal preference. You may like a much wider stitch. This bracelet right here has a much wider stitch on it. I did this bracelet probably, oh geez, oh here's your Sam Brown closures. I did this bracelet probably 15 years ago, maybe. Um, and I used a wider stitch then, but now that I've done it 15 more years, I use a closer stitch. But you can see the difference there too in it, in the stitching part of it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish stitching this, and I'm sorry, punching mine, and you punch yours, and then I'll be back. Next step in this process will be to cut your sinew. So you want to get your sinew, whatever color you're using. And I am going to measure out, this is a pretty long, because it's a wrap bracelet, so it's going to be a pretty long piece of sinew. But what you do is you measure out twice the amount of each side, because you're doing a stitch, so it's taking up your thread basically. So let me find the end of this. Golly, where the heck? I just had it off the other day. Well, that ain't it. I just had it pulled off to show you guys the other day. Okay, here it is. All right, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to measure out two sides here. So there's one, two. Okay, that's for the one side. Then I'm going to measure out for this side. One, two. Okay, and I'm going to cut just a little extra on there, just to make sure that I have enough, because there's nothing worse than stitching, 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 and then you get down here to this end and you go, oh snap, I don't have enough to finish that. And then you'll have to do a patch job to finish, and we don't want to do that. So make sure you cut double the length of each side of your bracelet. So you'd cut two for this side and two for this side, plus a little extra, because you got the ends to go around, and then you're also going to be knotting it off and burning it off. So you want to make sure you have enough. Okay, the next thing you will do is you will take your sinew, and because it's wide, you can see that it's pretty wide right there. You're going to make it into a small piece of thread or rope, if you want to look at it that way. And I also did this technique in the other bracelet that I did probably 2 or 3 months ago. It was an embossed leather bracelet. And I did this same technique, but we're going to do it on this one as well. So you're going to take the end of it, put it between your fingers, and you're literally just going to roll it just like that. Nothing major at all. And you can see how it's paper thin. See that? See how thin it is compared to what we had? So you're going to take that and do it all the way down. And I like to hold it like this as I'm going and twist with this hand. Just do a little twisting motion and kind of pull it with the other hand as you're going. Okay? Because it'll tighten it as well as help you to make it round, so to speak. All right. Start here. I'm going to continue to roll it and pull it. That's just how I do it. And it sure does make your stitching job easier. And if your hand gets tired, just switch sides like this. Let me switch sides. We'll do it this way now. That's for lefties and righties. How about that? Okay. And you're going to continue this process all the way to the end of your thread. I think you guys have it. I'm going to finish this one and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've got mine done. You can see how thin it is all the way down. I did it all the way down the piece of thread. Piece of sinew. And it's going to seem like an ultra long piece of uh, thread for you. And yes, it is, especially doing something like this. So when you do like just a normal bracelet, you might have 8 inches, 8.5, 7, 8, 8.5, and you're looking at something maybe like this. So much less sinew, much shorter roping. But in this case, it's going to be a long haul for the stitching. But if you happen to be someone who has a sewing machine that has anything that will adjust on it where you can stitch it on a sewing machine, you can do that. And it's going to have a very clean look, and that's great. And that's what you want to do, great. Go do it because it will expedite your time. For me personally, I was taught to hand stitch everything, and I totally over the years have enjoyed the stitching of it and the way the organicness of how it makes it look. It's still very clean once it's stitched, but a very organic look and not so much a manufactured look. Either look is fine, but I prefer the more organic over the manufactured. But that's my personal preference. You can do it however you want to, there's no right or wrong way. All right, find you a needle that has a fairly large eye on it. This one's fairly large. You can get leather working needles too, pretty much anywhere. But you want something big enough that your thread can go through and that will fit through your holes. Okay. We're going to start on this corner right here. I'm going to start from the back. I'm going to pull it through and pull your thread all the way down. But make sure you leave a tail on there because this is what you're going to use to tie off your ending when you get around to the other side. Now don't get frustrated with this because I've done this a long time. If you're starting out, uh, just know that you're going to take a little more time than normal. But that's okay. It's just practice, practice, practice. And the next thing you know, you'll be doing it with your eyes closed. You'll be whipping, zip, 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 zip. Okay. So I'm going to start this stitch and show you just a little bit of the stitch, and then I'll finish it up and then come back. But please take your time. Do not get in a hurry doing this because you want your stitches to be even and beautiful. All right, so I've got it through the first one there. You can see nothing's tied off, but I've got a tail for when I get back around. And this is pretty standard in Southwest or Native American type styles. This is actually how I was taught. Let me get my eyes here so I can see my holes, make sure I don't miss a hole when I'm starting out. Let me make sure here I did not miss that. I know it got quiet all of a sudden, didn't it? All right, I've got it. I've got it. Okay. If for some reason you're stitching and you miss the hole, just take the thread out of your needle and just pull it out till you get to the place you missed. Rethread your needle and then start over. It's no big deal. I've done it so many times, it's not even funny. All right, but I'm holding my finger here to help the stitch form right there on the edge. so it will be even. And remember, when you're cutting your leather to put together, make sure you don't cut it too close or too tight from each other. You want it pretty even. And then when you're punching your holes, don't get it too close to the edge. If you do, you'll lose your leather piece. I'm just going slow right here so you can see what I'm doing. And like I said, once you get used to doing this, you'll be rocking and rolling. I'm telling you. It and the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more beautiful your stitches will be. If you need to move a stitch where it's more uniform, just move it with the end of your needle and then pull it like it needs to be going a little more at an angle or something like that. You'll just move it with the end of your needle. All right. Turning it over so you can see the back. So you can see how the stitching looks on the back there. Hopefully you can see it. You can see how uniform it is right there. Please just take your time. It's okay. I don't care if it takes you 30 minutes to stitch something or 45. Maybe you're doing a purse. It may take you an hour to stitch something. But please just take your time. Don't get in a hurry because that's how you make mistakes. So just take your time. It's okay. You're doing a custom piece of work, okay? And you know, things like this take time. It is custom. And that's the whole thing. And it's so much fun, so much fun. All right, I'm going to do a couple more stitches here and then I'll stitch the rest of it and come back. I'm getting to a place where I think you can see it. On this yellow part, maybe. Yeah, you can see it a little better right here. One more. Whoop, pulled it right out of my hand. Ah, I'm sitting in my chair. Ah, I got caught up on my chair. Hold on. There it is. Okay. The arm of my chair caught my sinew. Okay, so you can probably see that pretty well right there. Where the stitching's coming across the yellow part. And there's the back, and you can see how smooth that is on the back. Okay, I am going to continue and I'm going to stitch this whole entire thing. You stitch your part if you're doing it, and we'll come back together. We are now at the end over here where we started. Okay, you can see here's where you started with that loose wire. We've stitched all the way around. You can see the back of it looks just amazing. So we're going to come up here and we're making the corner. I'm holding this one with my finger. We're going to make this corner right here and then tie it off. And get my eyes. Alrighty. Going in and out of the stitch here. And we're at the hole where we started right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it one more time. Like that. And then I'm going to cut my sinew the same length as the other one. And then I'm going to tie these two ends off in just a basic knot. Just like you would tie on your shoe. That's one loop, and we're going to do another loop. Just like your shoe, instead of tying a bow on your shoe, you're tying a knot. Okay. And so it should look like that. Let me turn this over. Maybe it's a little easier for you to see. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these and run these back through like this on either side, just like that. You can pull this really, really tight because it's just like, it's almost bulletproof, so to speak. Okay, I'm going to try to thread what I've got left. I probably should have left a little longer, and that's something I should have told you at the beginning, but ooh, I'm so sorry. So when you start your first thread, make sure you leave probably twice this much length on each end, because you've got to run it back through, and want to make sure you have enough space to get your needle to make that curve and go through. So when you measure it out and you get ready to cut it off at the beginning, just remember to leave probably twice that much on there, probably like that instead of this. So sorry, but I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm going to get my needle threaded, and then we'll get this thing wrapped up. All right, I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. Because I did not leave enough right here on the ends, like I was telling you earlier, because I didn't leave enough, I couldn't loop my needle back. So this is how I'm troubleshooting that, in case you ever do this. I have done it before in the past. So what I'm doing to troubleshoot that is I'm going ahead and I'm running my needle down the side underneath the sinew, right there on that side. I'm going underneath that, going down far enough that I can rethread my needle. Okay. Hopefully I can do this without it coming undone. Now sinew splits, remember, so you have to be very careful when you're pulling that through like that. All right, I've got it through enough that I can go ahead and pull this down. I'm pulling it right through, just like that. And I went ahead and pulled it through and let my needle just come on out. And then I'm going to clip this right here very, very carefully, because you don't want to clip the sinew that's stitched. Well, gee willikers. It's going to be burned off anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, so I cut off the excess right there. And you're going to go back and do the same thing. Now, like I said, if you have this much more thread on the end of this, you won't have to do this. But because I did not measure it out long enough, or I measured it out, I just didn't leave a long enough tail on it. I think that's what it is. So if you ever do that, this is what you're going to do, okay? Because you are going to run this back through. So go ahead and take your needle and run it underneath the sinew. You need to go through at least 2 of the stitches. Try not to stick yourself doing this, because I've stitched it so tight, it's being a little fussy with me. Okay, there it goes. So I've got it underneath those 2 stitches. If you can do more than 2, maybe 4, that would be great. But right now I'm going to do these 2. I'm going to put my sinew back through the needle very carefully, like that. Pull it enough that it won't come unthreaded. And then I'm going to pull it through. Just like that. And I'm going to pull it and let the needle come on through and let it come off just like that. All right. So if you ever make that mistake, that's how you fix it. All right, and then I'm going to clip this right here as close as I can to the end. Now, the next thing you're going to do is, I had to turn my fan off because I'm fixing to use some fire. So get you some kind of heat source with a flame on it. I'm using a trusty lighter right here. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to seal this knot here on the end. Just gingerly, not too much. Press it down with your finger. Now, it will be hot. Just warning you, it will be hot when you press it down. So if you're tender fingered, then you need to figure out some way to press it down without your finger touching it. But mine are just, I've got just lots of wear and tear on them. All right, so we've got that sealed. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lighter and I'm going to go down the edge and burn off all the excess hair that's sticking out on this, because it's got fur on it. If it doesn't have fur on it, it won't matter. But I'm burning off the excess fur, and I'm also burning off the little feathery things that may come off on your sinew as you're going, and it's going to seal the sinew to the bracelet. Don't hold it too long. Just want enough to seal that sinew. And it'll also give it this beautiful kind of burnt look, which I love on the edges. Whoa, that lighter is hot as blazes. Because you've got the fur on here, it will make kind of a brownish edge on it, and I love that. Okay, we're going to go on down a little more. You're wondering what I'm doing. I'm blowing off my lighter, so it's cool. Oh my God. Woo, look how clean that edge is. Oh my. Hopefully Ken can pick that up. This edge over here, look how clean that is. Wow, wow, wow. Beautiful, beautiful. We'll make the curve here and then we'll continue. Gotta get all those excess little hairs. Oops, see them burning there? Okay, I'm gonna burn off the rest of this edge and then I'll be back. Okay, yay, we got all that burn off. It's so pretty. Last thing we're gonna do is put on this sand brown closure. And so you've got to determine where you want your closures to be, how far apart. I'm going to do 2 on this bracelet to give it a little extra oomph. And I determined, I'm taking my little eyes part of it, the little part that goes in, and I've determined that I want them to be about that far apart, roughly. And that would be, I'm going to measure it out here. I'm looking at these. It's about 1.5 inches apart, roughly. Now, when you put this on your bracelet, Make sure you leave enough room right in here. You don't want this to be right there on that sinew. You don't want it down that far. Give it some breathing room. Give it a little place to breathe. So I'm leaving about, I'd say that was about a quarter of an inch right there. Yes, it is. It's about a quarter of an inch from the end of the bracelet to where the first little uh, closure will be. And then you'll come up about an inch and a half and mark the next one. So I'm going to mark this one where it's at. So I'm going to take my little Sharpie that you had earlier, if you were using that to mark off your stitches. I'm going to use that same thing to put a dot right there. That's where I'm going to do my hole. And then I'm going to go that's an inch and a half right there. And I'm going to, now that I've got the dot there, I'm going to look to see if that needs to be moved or not. It's kind of an eye thing of what you like. So I'm going to move it down, not quite a half an inch, but maybe a quarter of an inch. I think I'll have them that far apart instead. And this is your personal preference as to how far apart you want these. So I'm going to put a little dot right there. That's where my hole's going to go. Okay, now another trick that I do, you can do it any way you want to, but this is the way I do mine. Because this is a wrap bracelet, and I'm going to show you here. Let me wrap it around my wrist. This is a different kind of wrap bracelet. All right, so I've got it wrapped around my wrist. This is what it's going to look like. Way cool, way funky. So you're going to have your clasp here. So what you want to do, this little side right here is the side where I tied the knot off. So you don't want this side to be the one everybody's pulling like this to take their bracelet off. You don't want it on that one. You want it on the other one. So what's going to happen here is you're going to punch your holes in the on the correct side. And let me take this off. And I'll take this one off so you can see. All right, so my personal bracelet that I've got here, you can see the little Sam Brown closure right there, how I've got that in there. And I love these, guys. I love these. They look great on women and they look great on men. So that's what the Sam Brown looks like when it's done on the bracelet. Now, on the other end of the bracelet is where it goes in. And what I do is I cut a what I call a T cut, and I'll show you. Let me set that right there for a second. All right, so I've got the hole, the hole punched right here where it's going to go, like this. So you'll punch your hole, and you'll use a large hole punch. The large hole on the punch. I'll show you in a minute. Oh my gosh, I'm at the end of the bracelet and I can't even talk. Okay, so once I get this done, I'm going to take an X-Acto, or you can use an ultra sharp pair of scissors, small scissors, but they've got to be ultra sharp to be able to go through the leather. And I'm going to make a T cut. I'm going to make one here, here, and here. Here, here, and here. So the T cut is going to look like this. Here's your hole that's going, the bracelet piece is going into. Here's your cuts on the outside of that hole. And that's to give the hole the capacity to expand so that the closure can go through it. I call it a T cut. That's just my way of saying it. Okay. All right. So in this bracelet, I only did 2 on this one. I do 3 now. You can also do 2 if you want to, and I'll show you what that one looks like. So we have our holes here like this. and it would be cut like that. Or you can do the hole, do one down, and you can do it on the outside if you'd rather do it this way. Okay, so I'll show you the other way. Hole, hole right here, cut, cut, out, out. And that's going to depend on the size of your bracelet as to which one of these you're going to use. All right. So if you have a little small bracelet, you're probably going to want to use this hole cut. If you have a larger bracelet, you can use this hole cut, this one right here, because you'll have more space to work with. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And then you can also do this if you have a wide enough space as well to do. So that's how that works. All right, let me get mine and I'll show you. Okay, you remember I was telling you had to have a really large hole to for the closure to go through. So get your little rotary guy and find the largest hole there is on it, which would be that one for me. Okay, it's really, really large. And then where we put our marks, you're going to punch a hole in there. Do it right smack in the middle, like that. Make sure it went through. It did not. Yeah, it did. Yes, it did. All right. Didn't cut it real good, probably because of the fur that's on there. Sometimes the fur will do that, just so you will know. All these troubleshooting things you have to do when you're working with leather. Oh my gosh. All right, we're going to go over the hole one more time. I try to turn it, and if it'll let me, I'll try to turn it like that. Because sometimes, like I said, depending on if you're using the just a regular hide or if you've got fur on it, the fur will make a difference. I'm trying to punch it really hard. All right, let me make sure everything's coming out good. It is. And you can take anything to punch it out. I can use this little thing. I had a needle there too. All right. Working that hole out good. A little piece right there of leather sticking up. I'm going to try to snip that with my scissors. Yeah, it's that cowhide. All right, now I'm going to punch this one right here. I got some hair up in there too. Try to do it right in the middle. And sometimes you have to do it a couple of times, depending, like I said, depending on what fur it is you're using or hide you're using. See, because the cowhide right there, see how the cowhide is keeping it from, I'm sorry, the fur that's on the cowhide is keeping it from cutting on that edge right there. So you have to cut it again. But go ahead and punch through what you've got. And go ahead and snip that off with your scissors. Try really hard not to get the rest of your bracelet. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do it on the other side. Try to turn it. It ain't letting me turn much. And that is the fur that's on there. Just know if you're working with fur, you have to work a little harder. But boy, when it's finished, you will be thrilled. All right, I'm cleaning my hole out here. And you can clean your hole out with anything. This is a stick I used in my painting. All right. All right. So we got our holes cut there. Move that over to the side for a moment. This is where your clasp is going to go on, is on this side, because this is the side that's got the little knot on it, and you don't want people pulling it like this on and off. So it'll go through like that, and then you'll hammer it down, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute, like that. So the next thing we want to do is mark this other side. So I'm turning the bracelet wrong side out. I'm leaving the little 1/4 of an inch down here on this other one. Then I'm going to take, you got to have room for it to cut your holes. All right, I'm going to take my silver marker. I'm going to mark 2 holes. Gonna mark 2 holes. Right there and right there. Okay. All right, I've marked the other one like so. I'm going to switch to the other desk so I can hammer. I'll be back. All right, I'm over at my desk. I'm in my painting station so I can hammer. The other thing we need to do is punch these 2 holes out right here on this other end, because that's the one where you're going to use the cuts for the clasp to go in. So I'm going to punch holes there. And again, the cowhide with the fur on it is always going to be hard. Just is. You may have to punch it a couple of times. Right, there's a little piece of it right there. I'm going to cut that piece off, just like we did over at the other desk. All right, I made my hole. Flip it over. I'm going to do a hole in this side. Make sure you get it right in the middle. I got a pretty doggone good grip, but this little guy is really hateful. All right. Punch him through. There's the top part of it. I haven't used this bigger hole punch real often. I've got 3 hole punches. And some are just work a lot better than others. And actually, some are sharper than others. I've noticed that over the years. Some of them are just really sharp and cut through pretty much anything. And then some are not. So you just got to go with it. All right. I think I got the excess out. I'm going to punch these one more time. One more time. Hoping I'm still in the camera here. This is a different height than over at the desk. All right. I think I got it. Okay, there's a little excess. I know this is probably going to be a pretty long video, but you know, once you get this down, you can rock and roll, I'm telling you. All right, remember the nap of your fur. Okay, so we're going to put these Sam Brown closures on now. And because the closure is going to be on this end, so when it wraps, it's going to go like that over the top, like that. So I'm taking the little stem, the stem part of it, like that. That's going to go on the back part of the bracelet. The little head, the little round part, goes down into this little anvil looking thing here. It fits down in like that. Okay. Then you're going to take, you've got your You've got it in the leather part like that, and the flat part goes on the back. The stem comes through on the top of the bracelet. Then you're going to put the stem down into the little hole there, like so. Should look like that. Hopefully you can see that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hammer this little puppy down in there. Oops, get down in there. Yes. See, it is going in. See that right there? All right. Let me move this. Maybe I can get a little more. I usually do this, in all honesty, I do it on concrete instead of a board, like, because this has so much play to it. Okay, I got this one on. I figured you didn't want to hear me hammering. It actually is easier if you do it on concrete floor. Okay, so we're going to do the next one now. And again, the stem goes into the back like so. That. Then the head of it, the little round part, goes into the hole on the anvil like that. All right. And then your stem goes down into that hole. And that's what you're going to hammer into. I'm going to try it again over here. I had to take the other one to the concrete just so you'll know, but I am going to try to do it again over here. This, I'm telling you, there's something about concrete. I think because there's no give to it at all. I'm going to the concrete. I'll be back. All right, I got the other one in. I had to take it to the concrete. There was too much play on this for it to get the inertia it needed to go down in the hole. So just know that when you're putting in the sand brown closures, try to use some piece of concrete or something underneath you. Okay, I'm going to make remember the little T cuts we were talking about earlier. I'm going to make them on the holes that the clasp is going to go through. So I got, this is just a little X-Acto knife. There's tons of other tools out there you could use. You could actually use an extremely sharp pair of scissors if you wanted to, but I have used this for years and it seems to work. So I'm going to continue on here. And you know what? If you make a big enough cut, you can only use one. You don't have to make a T. That's up to you. So I'll do this so you can see it. And if you can see that, I'm pulling it apart so you can see it. Okay. And I think I'm going to do one on this side, maybe a small one. Now because leather stretches, you don't want to make your T holes too big because you want it to be able to hold the ball of the clasp. So just be aware of that when you're doing this and pay attention to how big your holes are. All right, that one needs a little more. All right, I've got a couple. I'll try to hold that up there where you can see it maybe. if you can see that or not. All right. Now you can always test to see if you need to continue by pulling one of the ends over and pushing it on. And that one is perfect, actually. So I did like a little half T. All right. Let me do the other one. I'm putting it down right here. Perfect. I'm going to do another little half right there. All right, needs just a little bit more. And you can see it when you open it up. You can actually see it, you know, when you take it and push it like that, you can see how much you need to go. Perfect. Perfect. I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so this one worked. Let's go back over to the desk. Alrighty, we finished this bracelet, and actually, if you're not a very big person, you could actually wear this as a choker, which would be just way cool. But anyway, let's take our little guys off. We're going to wrap the bracelet like so over. I'm going to wrap these guys over. Whoops, I hit my microphone. I'm sorry for the noise. And let me see where my hole is. There's my hole right there. Put it on right there. Push it down. All right, so we are done with this project. And look at this. You can move this actually to the front if you want it up here. You can wear it on the outside. You can wear it on the bottom. And I'm right now, I haven't even played with it yet. I just got it on my wrist so you could see it. But anywho, here you go. I'm moving it around just to play with it a little bit. And there's the wrap bracelet with leather. Is that not just fun? Fun, fun. This will be in the store, theartisancompany.com. This has been an amazingly fun project for all you guys that are wanting to continue with leather things. I will be doing some more things, but I will see you on the next project. Bye.